Hi friends, hey, happy Monday and official day one. I feel like we kind of know each other already. Thank you so much for participating in this group. I am thrilled with your questions, your knowledge, your input, your comments. You guys are rocking it. I mean, you seem to already have a pretty good handle on what intermittent fasting is. And if you don't worry, because we're going to cover it. But I love your questions and I love your input. And so I just want to welcome you again and thank you for that. This group belongs to all of us. It's not just my group. And I welcome any input, questions, or comments you might have. Hey, Rachel. Good to see you on here, girl. So today, day one, the official start. I know we've covered a few little tidbits here and there throughout the last couple of days, but today what I want to talk about is kind of the nuts and bolts of intermittent fasting. Hi, Carol. We're going to talk about the different types of intermittent fasting, and there's a few, but I mean, there's probably more than I'm going to cover here in this group. But just for, the purpose of giving a great introduction and keeping it kind of basic, I'm going to cover some of the more common styles and schedules with intermittent fasting. So feel free to chime in with questions. I love to hear your input, and I really welcome, anything you want to comment. I hope I can see it. Sometimes your comments don't show up until the video ends. So if I don't answer, if you ask a question I don't answer, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's because your comment, for some reason, the feed is a little slow and it doesn't show up until I end the video. So I try to always go back and answer them even if the video is ended. Okay, so a couple things I want to say. I know this morning we shared a little bit about how it's okay to start your day without breaking your fast, acceptable liquids. And I wanted to just touch on that a little bit more. So the general rule of thumb is anything around 50 calories or less does not break your fast. So you saw in my little post, maybe you saw that I start every day with a little collagen and a little coffee, and back up. I start with water and apple cider vinegar. Starting the day, as soon as my feet hit the ground, I drink water, and starting the day that way is a great way to bolster your metabolism. You're dehydrated when you wake up from sleeping all night. So getting the hydration process started also jumpstarts your metabolism. When you're dehydrated, your metabolism slows down. So that's number one. And then number two, at some point I have coffee. Oftentimes I have a little coffee before I work out, and then I'll do my workout, and then I'll have my coffee and collagen afterwards. That's just the way I do it. I think the collagen adds a little bit of protein and aminos, and it's great support for post-workout because I work out fasted most days, which we'll talk more about as we get into the week. But that's how I do it, and that's not considered breaking the fast. If you listen to Dr. Berg's YouTube video, you heard that he mentions bone broth. There's teas, coffee's okay. There's several things that you can have. So, feel free to keep doing your research. Google is your friend. Just make sure you're at reputable sites. Not everything you read online is true. And I just encourage you to keep doing your research. But for the most part, 50 calories is considered the number that does not break your fast. Okay, what are we supposed to eat? That was a great question. For the sake of this short group, because we're only together for a week, I'm not going to give lengthy menu plans and meal plans and nutrition. The reason that I'm not going to do that is because I think that's something that's more specific to each individual, and I think it's something that's takes a little more time than a week. So for the sake of intermittent fasting, what I would say in this group is we'll figure out the eating window that we maybe want to try if we decide to try intermittent fasting, and then what you can do is you can just try to stay within that window and eat as healthy and clean as possible. So this week, we aren't on a diet at all. This is not a diet. This is just an eating schedule to see if, like I said before, we can get our body into fat adaptation, which means we're burning fat for energy instead of burning glucose. So this week is about just sort of wrapping our mind around what intermittent fasting is, how to do it, and what the benefits are. And then if you decide to continue on in my groups, when we start the 21-day group next week, the Make the Shift group, hey Tina, that group will have a lot more specifics in terms of what to eat specifically, what is good for your body mass index, and depending on the workouts you're doing and so on. So that being said, let's talk about the types of intermittent fasting. Tina, I'm so happy to see you on here. Welcome. Like I said, there's probably more types here than I'm going to cover, but I'm going to get the basics. So number one, it's called lean gains. You may want to write this down. Again, it's lean gains, and that is what a lot of people call 16-8. That is kind of where I'm the most comfortable, and it seems to be a good place to start for many of us. It works very well because really it's eating in that 8-hour window and then allowing your body the 16 hours of fasting. So 16-8 or lean gains seems to be a great place to start and land for most of us. Now, I will say this, if you are just going to be starting intermittent fasting this week or next week for the first time ever, and you need to eat more than an 8-hour window, in other words, the end of your 8 hours, you start to feel panicky and hungry, take note of how you're feeling. If you're really truly hungry, be mindful of it and have a snack. This isn't life or death situation. This is trying it out and seeing how it feels for you. Everybody's different. So maybe you start with a 15-9 or maybe even a 14-10 where you're eating 10 hours and fasting 14 and gradually making that transition to 16-8. So lean gain 16-8 is kind of where I like to hang out about 80% of the time. On the weekends when we go out, sometimes in the evenings, I'm not done eating by 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So if I had my first meal, broke my fast at 11 in the morning, and I decide at 9 o'clock that I'm going to have a glass of wine or a snack, then obviously I've stretched my intermittent fasting window a little bit. And that's okay. I mean, this is life, right? This isn't, this isn't meant to be super restrictive. I think a lot of people fail at intermittent fasting because they approach it, hi Telma, they approach it like it is do or die. And every day is a new day. And if you don't, if you don't stay in your window the first day or a day, it's okay. It really is. You can make adjustments and try again the next day. Okay. The second fasting schedule or fasting window I want to talk about is called the fast diet, and that's 5-2. A lot of people refer to it as 5-2. Basically, in the fast diet, you eat regularly for 5 days, and then 2 days a week, and they don't have to be back to back. Any 2 days in a 7-day period, you eat 500 to 600 calories in the whole day. So that's all you're eating in that 2 days, and those 2 days don't have to be back to back. So that's considered a 5-2 because for 5 days you're eating pretty normally, hopefully healthy and clean, but the other 2 days you are greatly reducing your calories to 500 or 600. And so that schedule, the fast diet, is not something I would recommend you start right away. If you decide you want to try that, I would say you do that after you've been successful maybe at 16-8 for a while. And this takes a while to become fat adapted. So, I'm just throwing these out here. Some of you may have been intermittent fasting for a while and you may be ready to try the 5-2. Personally, for me, I probably will never be to that point. I'm just a little bit more balanced. I tend to live my life a little more evenly on the scale. And to me, that seems a little extreme. But I know some people have a lot of success with it, particularly, patients who have had brain injury. The ketogenic or fasting plans are great for brain health. So if you've got early Alzheimer's, sometimes, those patients will try the fast diet. So that's just a side note, okay? There is the warrior diet. This is the third type I want to talk about. That's eating in a 4-hour window. Now, they do say that true fasting warriors can get to the 4-hour window pretty easily by consistently adjusting their eating schedule. So say if you were a 16-8 lean gains person and you're successful there for a month or 2 or 3, and then you want to go to 17-7 and 18-6 and then get down to where your eating window is only 4 hours. There's a lot of literature about the warrior diet out there. I encourage you to Google it, talk to your physician. That's definitely not a plan that I probably could follow because I have a family and my days are really long. I have a couple of jobs and I'm super busy. So a 4-hour eating window is probably not something I'll ever really train myself to do successfully. And again, I like to keep a balance, but I'm not saying because it's not right for me doesn't mean it's not right for you. So I just want you to be aware that is an intermittent fasting schedule, the Warrior Diet, and it's a 4-hour eating window, and I encourage you to check it out if you think you would benefit from something on that level. The fourth plan I want to talk about, alternative day eating. Eat a day, skip a day. Pretty simple. A lot of people have success with this. Eat a day, skip a day. It's not something I can do because, again, I'm probably not going to go a whole day without chewing food. But there are people who can do it. They fast with water and tea and stay under 50 calories. And so they go 24 hours eating pretty much whatever they want and 24 hours not eating at all. That to me seems a little extreme. There's the eat, stop, eat. So you do 1 or 2 24-hour fasts per week. It's a little similar to the 5-2. Basically, you pick 1 day or 2 days a week within a 7-day period that you're going to spend 24 hours fasting. That's called eat, stop, eat. And then there's the spontaneous meal skip. Now, this is something that I think is a great way to start. Yeah, we all have different structures to our day and have to do what works for us. That's right. Got to listen to your body. I will say, though, that a lot of us are conditioned to eat. It's buffering badly. Okay, well, you know what? Maybe when it reposts, it'll post better. It looks like my connection's pretty strong. I'm not sure what's going on. But anyway, the spontaneous meal skip, I kind of like for people that are just starting out. And the reason that I like it is because it creates a sense of awareness and mindfulness about what you're eating. So basically, it's just skipping a meal. If you're not hungry, skip. And I think so many of us are habitual, feeling like, okay, we need to eat 6 times a day. Or, you know, it started for a lot of us. We would come home from school, we'd have breakfast and lunch, and we'd have an after school snack, and then we'd have dinner, and then we'd have dessert. And we were conditioned to eat 5 times a week from the time we were kids. And sometimes maybe we weren't that hungry, or maybe once we were grown, we no longer had the same nutritional requirements that we had as children. So stretching the meals out from early in the morning before school till late in the evening at bedtime with dessert maybe isn't still something, you know, that we have to do. So spontaneous meal skip is a way to stay aware of how your body's feeling and how to come to grips with true hunger and emotional hunger. So those are things we're going to talk about a little bit later, but if you don't mind commenting below now that you know these 5 types, check in and let us know what you think might work for you. If you were going to start with an intermittent fasting, would you be a 16-8 type person on the lean gains? Would you try the fast diet where you go 5-2? Would you just maybe try skipping a meal or taking a day where you're 500 or 600 calories? I would love to hear how you think intermittent fasting could fit into your life currently. And also I would love to hear you know, any takeaways you might have or feedback you have on the information that I shared today. So again, I welcome you to the group, and don't forget to comment below. You guys have a great night, and I'll touch back tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to cover the benefits of intermittent fasting. I want to share the research, kind of what you know, what the benefits truly are, what the scientists are figuring out, and maybe dispel a few myths about it. So I'll see you all tomorrow. I look forward to hearing from you tonight.